and welcome back to the U Up podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. We are so excited. We have a very special. Is it a Sunday special? What
It
are we
is a
taping
Sunday
here?
special.
This is a Sunday special.
Sunday special.
We love a Sunday special.
January 7th.
January 7th, the first Sunday of the year. Welcome to the new year, bitch. Get those resolutions started if you haven't already, fatty. I'm kidding.
It's just the motivation
Right.
that the audience needs.
Right. I'm seeing the YouTube comments now. Oh, Jared's changed. Yeah, my resolution was to stop lying to you people. But I'm very excited about today's guest. We both are. We love a guest. Hilarious comic, Rosebud Baker. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Everyone needs to go check out Rosebud on Netflix right now. It's streaming. It's at your fingertips. Verified stand-up. She's got a hilarious set. Fingertips, right?
Yeah,
You can,
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, you can watch on your
Just
phone.
a click away.
Right.
Yeah, a touch away.
A touch away.
Yeah.
And you know what else it is? A good excuse to not do your resolution a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or maybe your resolution is to have some more laughs in your life.
Or just to watch more TV.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like
So-
maybe that I like an attainable resolution. I like somebody
Right?
who's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna eat more.
Well, that's why people go into their, like, I was talking about this with a friend the other day, like when people go like, you know, like overarching with their resolution.
Right.
I'm just going to be more present.
Oh
And
yeah.
you go, oh, you did it.
Well,
Because you're
everyone
just
can do
saying
that
it.
for
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
minutes. though.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the best type of resolution.
Well, it's like, what are the best resolutions are supposed to be like time bound and like quantifiable or
Right.
something, right? Something really businessy sounding.
I saw someone talking about resolutions. We talked about this on the new and improved J Train podcast. We showed a TikTok of this woman telling people how to do their resolutions, and she's like, the first thing you do is start planning in December. And it's like, well,
No.
I guess I'm fucking out now.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how resolutions work.
The whole point of
Yeah.
resolutions is
Right.
to just go absolutely insane to swing the pendulum to the other side,
Right.
to the point where it gets so bad that you're like, I need to make the resolution. If you're planning for the resolution, it doesn't.
You don't
make
need
any
it at
sense.
all,
Right,
right?
yeah.
I totally agree.
Well,
But-
maybe if you're like, I guess if you could do both, you know, if your resolution is to like stop smoking crack, you could just really go for it for
Well,
all of
December is-
December.
yeah,
And
that's crack
then-
month.
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying,
that's-
right.
let's get this fucking going.
Exactly.
December's a fun month. So you're on Netflix. The great, it's like everyone's got like Nimesh is on it. You're on
Yep.
it. We got a whole cast of characters.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's hilarious.
It's fun. It was fun. It was like I taped it when I was like 8.5 months pregnant.
Wow.
And now a baby is here.
Yes, yeah.
And I said to Jordana, I was like, you had a baby, and Jordana said, what'd you have?
And then I said, was it your first?
Yes.
Yeah.
And your response was,
Was first and last.
first and last. That's the
Yes.
name of the next special.
Yeah, one and done.
And
One
did
and
you,
done, yeah.
Did you know that going into it, or once you had her, you
I
were
had
like,
a
all right, that's it.
Well, so it's complicated because I have all these like frozen embryos that I
Okay.
had done IVF, and then
I got an alley.
Samesies.
I
Yeah.
got an alley for you to sell them on.
Yeah,
You should sell them, right? Couldn't you do that?
I feel like I
mean,
could.
That would be like, you'd really have to really need the money. I
Oh,
think,
really?
to be selling
Okay.
her.
Yeah, an alley. I feel like I don't know if an alley is the way. I mean, that's sort
Set
of,
up a pink table.
you're like you should take yours to an alley, Rosebud.
That's the only place
yeah.
you're gonna get any
Yeah,
traction.
don't
on
go to an actual. Go to an alley.
My first thought was
No, oh my
Rosebud
God,
in
she
an
has,
alley.
she has a Netflix. She has a Netflix special.
Yes.
You could get Prime dollar. for
Yeah,
those embryos.
these
If
are
you
high-end
wanna
embryos.
sell
Well, it's a
them.
10-minute set, but yeah, we can
Yeah,
call
a
it a
special 10. It's a very special 10.
That would be how you would market the embryos.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Yes.
Embryos of a
funny
yes.
white babies.
Exactly.
That's,
Right.
I
It's the
just
sign, like lemonade.
High demand.
Yeah.
High demand.
Yeah, lemonade.
Right.
Right. Listen, I'll take a funny white baby. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. But the thing is like I had all of those and I was like, should I thought I was going to use the embryos, but then I did IVF and then 2 months later I got pregnant with COVID. So
Okay.
I just sort of
COVID can get you pregnant now?
Yeah. I got
Holy
pregnant
shit.
with COVID.
Well,
Oh my
you got
God.
pregnant and then you had COVID.
I had
or-
COVID and I got pregnant. And
How do
At the
you,
same
in the
time?
same month.
Okay.
It's a one
I heard-
stick. You
no,
can do it all in one
but
night.
yeah,
Be on
yeah,
one
it's
stick.
not
that
you find
happens,
out.
right? Because it lowers your immune system, right?
I
think
have no
pregnancy,
idea.
Supposedly.
I,
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Right.
I don't know even remember like what the order was. All I know is I was like, I went through all of this fucking trouble to get these embryos,
Right.
And now I just got pregnant while I had COVID.
So
I'm
like
just-
morning sickness combined with COVID? Is that like, were you extra sick?
I wasn't really that sick. It didn't like pregnancy didn't make me sick, but it did make me like basically handicapped. I was just like by the end of it, I was like I couldn't walk.
Really?
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
So
when
tough
I was
pregnancy.
Yes, when I shot this this Netflix thing, I could make it up the stairs, but like I had to lay down between. I
They
couldn't.
brought you in like Frankenstein.
Basically, they like wheeled me. I
Yeah.
was just really messed up. I had like something called SPD where your pelvis like splits.
Oh wow.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Every time you hear a story from a woman about pregnancy, like I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like you can't believe.
You're like, that's
You're
allowed
like,
your
to
asshole
happen.
rips
I just
rips
learned
apart.
what a
You're like,
vulva was.
Yeah.
Like, slow down for me. Yeah. But women say it was such calm. Like, oh, I had this like thing where your pelvis just rips at the seams, and you're like,
Right.
Well, we're trying
What?
not to make it as horrifying as it actually felt, you know, because I walked into the doctor's office and I was like, this can't be allowed, right? Like, this is really weird. I should be in a hospital. And she was like, no, it's just part of it, you know? And
That's just how it is.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's crazy that's allowed.
Well, I guess it makes you like understand how it's just like so many women just used to die
Yes.
when they were giving birth. It
Oh,
just, like, was super
100%.
common.
Like you're supposed to. I mean,
Right.
at the end of this, I was like, oh, you're supposed to die when this is over.
oh my god.
Like
That's
the
crazy.
fact that we lived past it is crazy.
Yeah.
Someone's got to take care of that baby, I guess.
Yeah, and then you just go back to work. It's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. It's like going to space or something.
Do you trust your husband to take care of the baby
Yes.
completely?
Way more than I trust myself.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Has he been good?
He's been great.
Great.
Like I feel like he's reached his final form.
This is where he should have been the whole time.
He should have
I know
had a
your
kid
husband,
at
he's a
18.
comedian, but he. Some people like it's funny. Like Jordana, you've told me like there's some friends who have kids and they're like the husband
Doesn't, I mean, here's
doesn't
the thing.
do shit.
I
Well,
think
no.
no matter how much he does, usually they're saying he doesn't do shit because even
a
if he's doing a lot, it's usually just not as much as the moms
Okay.
do.
Yeah. I mean, I can honestly
It's never
say
enough.
that for me, it's been 50-50, if
Wow.
not, if he's actually doing more because I had to go back to work. So he's with the baby
Okay.
like during the day.
Okay.
And he's been amazing. Like he's like really, really good at it. To the point where I'm like a little insulted. Like I feel like I go home after I
you
went back to
jealous?
work. Yes.
Okay.
I went back and I like saw her and she kind of looked at me like I was like her dad's girlfriend. You know? I was just like, oh, this sucks.
Who's this bitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like,
wonder
I'm
if
not gonna call you mom.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder if
Hey,
dads care.
Rosie.
Exactly.
So, it's so like seeing him in this. You know, this is a relationship podcast.
Yeah.
How could you have seen it coming in your dating life?
Yes.
Okay, so
Well,
I think
let's-
there's.
I
yeah.
saw it coming immediately.
I want to back up
Okay, back it up.
because it says here that you started a podcast
Right.
with your now husband,
Yeah.
but you were by day 3 you were engaged.
Yeah.
So were you dating before?
It
this?
wasn't because of the podcast. I
Right.
need to be clear.
I need more clarity
We
on
were
the story.
dating before
Okay.
that. We were
Okay.
dating but not for long. We were dating for 6 months.
Okay.
And then we got engaged at 6 months. And then we got married at 9 or 10 months.
Okay. And you started this podcast while you were dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, here's the thing though, Rosebud, you've done jokes about this that he's outside of your normal type.
Yes.
So I think this is something worth like talking about. You get married within 6 months. You get engaged within 6 months. So first the podcast, sorry.
Right.
And then you
Yeah.
start the podcast.
That's how you get him to commit, ladies. You ask him to start a podcast.
You start a
with you.
podcast and you're basically married
Put
already.
this shit on the internet.
Yeah.
But you start you're dating, pandemic, start a podcast. You get engaged very quickly after that. With very quickly after dating 6 months, I'm sure there's people listening here who are like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
I know.
How do you do it?
Right.
Right.
How do you get that ring?
Well, I did.
But-
I had a conversation with him where I was like, when we started dating, and I think we were together for like a week, right? Where it was like, and I just said to him, I was like, look, I want to get married. Not necessarily to you, but I want to get married. So unless you want to get married, we should start dating other people because I'm looking for a husband.
this is the reveal.
Love it.
I love it
Bold.
too.
Yeah.
I think like that sets the tone.
Yeah.
We're dating to get to know each other for marriage. And
marriage.
if this
Yeah.
is fuck around time,
Yeah.
you know, I won't.
I gotta
take it
keep it
personally.
moving.
Well,
Yeah.
it also builds in, and I think this happens in a breakup where like a lot of time the person breaking up with someone is forced to like come up with a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and you usually
You're giving
don't.
them the reason.
Right, you've given the reason.
Right.
Here's the reason. Here's your out. That's the door. That's the combination of the door.
Right.
Now, let's fucking see what this is all about. And that'll be the reason. I can compartmentalize. You can give me this bullshit. You don't want to get married, and it'll be a little bit nicer than, well, I like you, but I don't like you. I don't see it. You know, the hemming and hawing.
Yeah.
I think it kind of like, it's a
business deal.
a little bit.
At the end of the day, getting married is completely a business
I
deal.
mean, it's a legal
Right.
document.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's like kind of how I think it needs, at least for me, that's how I had to approach it. Because I was like, I cannot do another 3 years with somebody and like sort of float the idea in this way that's like maybe they're into it and maybe I have to apologize for it or act like I don't want to do it. I couldn't do that anymore. I was done with that.
I think that's very smart. I love that. But I also want to know, Jared, if someone said that to you a week into dating, what would you say?
I'd go, okay. And again, like I'm that's why I'm like,
You would
thinking
just
this
think
is-
about it.
It would hover over every, you know, I think like
You would be a lot more intentional in anything you did or didn't do.
I would
from
have
then
to be.
on.
That's the
Right.
contract. I just there's a verbal contract of sorts of like, oh, I'm literally like, you know, there's no wondering, well, maybe she's not, maybe this, maybe that. Like I think putting in the perspective of like, I'm looking for marriage. Like and not with you necessarily, but
Right.
that's what I'm,
looking
here
for someone who's looking for that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like in my own dating life, I would say that I'm looking for serious, and that's been why I've ended things when I did.
Mhm.
Right.
Being like, I just don't see a future here as much as this feels ahead of time.
Mhm.
I'm putting my heels in the sand now, so why am I gonna stick around and like upset
Keep
some
going.
Right.
you know, and kind of like play, you know, house
Right.
a little bit.
And it's
when
good
not
to
gonna
give
happen.
someone the out because then you know that, like you said, instead of 3 years down the line, I think you see a lot of this with women who maybe are dating men 2-3 years and they're like, I don't know. Like he says he's not sure if he wants to get married. Like he's not like
It's never gonna happen.
Right. It's never gonna happen if that's like sort of the track that they're playing.
Yeah.
And people are like afraid to just say that explicitly. And I
Yeah.
think the earlier you say it, the more you save your own time.
I spent 5 years with a guy where I was like trying to have that conversation. Like, are we maybe gonna can we please think about getting married? Like, I
Right.
really want to get married. And it was like every time I had the conversation, I wasn't just direct about it. And by the end of our relationship, I finally was like, I think it was one of my guy friends who was like, he's never gonna marry you. Like, it's just not gonna happen. If he
Right.
hasn't done it by now, it's not gonna happen. And I was like, oh yeah, no, you're right. And it felt so good just to hear that and actually accept that that was what I knew was happening, you know, but
Right.
to have somebody like affirm it for me.
Mhm.
And then finally, when we did break up, I was like, the next guy, I'm not going to apologize for this. I'm just going to be honest. And yeah. And he was like, well, I don't really want to date other people. So he was like, and I don't want you to date other people. So, and I've been married before. So why not? Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I'm open to it again. I was like, okay, great.
If someone's sitting here dating someone
hmm
and they're wondering what attributes would make a good dad
Yeah.
in those first 6 months of having a kid, what are the things you look back on now? You're like, man, that was a good thing. That was a, you know,
Yeah. Humility is like number one. Like if you're with somebody who's really proud or really like stubborn, you need to be with somebody who's like a team player, like a flex, like they have flexibility. They are willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Like if you're arguing and it feels like it's you against him instead of like both of you trying to take care of the relationship as a third entity, then that's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who's a real collaborator.
we should
Problem
create like
solver.
a board game that's actually like
Is
a
he
test to
is
see
he
if they're
dad worthy?
right.
Yeah.
Dude, that's actually a great idea.
Right. And then it'll be like humility. Like there'll be these challenges where you see
Yeah.
like how and they'd be fun challenges, but then you'd go, like, if you can't get through like a trust fall, You know,
Right.
like whatever it is. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like I'm like,
What
you
time
know,
does he wake up in the morning?
Right.
Is a good question.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really good one too. Yeah.
Will he get up?
Yeah.
Well, they say that the hardest year of marriage is the first year, and then the year after you have a child. Have you found that to be true or not?
I
Really?
loved the first year of marriage. I thought it was great.
So did I. I don't really understand that one.
Yeah.
really, they say it's the first is the
Maybe that's from like when people used to not really date that long before they got married. Like maybe
Yeah.
that saying is from
or maybe
back-
they
But
didn't
I
live
didn't date
together.
that long
Did you
before I
guys
got
live
married.
together?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we like fucked and then he moved in. I mean, it was basically like we're just two like addicts in recovery.
Right.
So it was just like
He was in the alley selling embryos.
yeah, I mean, honestly, it was when the second we met and we started sleeping together, it was like it was just, that was it, you know?
Okay.
So we were living together, but it wasn't for long. So I don't see why that would, I don't
Right.
know.
I guess.
But definitely the year after you have a kid, that's tough. That's been tough. I still feel really connected to him, but it's like that's very like challenging because you don't sleep. It's
No
just
sleep.
two
Right.
people not sleeping.
The no sleep is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. I always
And if you don't
hear that and I
sleep, you're
go,
probably in a really bad mood,
right.
right?
Right, but even as as two comedians, like our sleep schedule sucks generally. Like, don't you feel like you've prepared?
I did feel pretty prepared.
Yeah.
Especially because with the SNL schedule too, I was like,
Right.
it's really not that difficult. But when it's two people who are sleep deprived, that's when it gets tough.
Yeah.
Because both of us are exhausted. So and it does like affect communication because you genuinely can't communicate. My brain, we sit next to each other on our phones and we do not interact. Like when she's asleep, we're both just like it's two people
Mush.
just recovering from a car crash, you know?
SNL, the schedule, that's like I mean, that's like a notorious schedule. You're a
Yeah.
writer for SNL, if people don't know. Like that's the notorious, like, they're like, we start at 3 p.m. on Tuesday and
Right.
2 a.m. on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like there's like it's like a schedule created by a cocaine addict.
Yeah. And they're all still on cocaine hours.
Yeah.
So
So that's like crazy. Do you bring the baby in?
I have brought her in.
What's that like?
It was kind of like, I was kind of shocked because I was like, should I even bring her into this building? Like there's, you know what I mean? But then everybody was so pumped to see her that I was like, okay, I guess babies do. I've never given a shit about a baby. Like I've never really I'm not like a baby person. You know, like a toddler, I love. I love when they can
Right.
talk, when they've got like
They don't
little
really give you much
personalities.
when they're
Babies,
babies,
I'm
right?
just kind of like, I don't really get it, you know? But everybody was so pumped. There's like people are into babies.
Right.
And they were so
Like a
excited.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, can I pet her? Can I hold her?
Right.
Yeah.
As someone who was not pumped about babies, I mean, again, there's a listener out there going, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
How, what would you say to them? Like, is it the thing where you see your baby and you go, oh my God,
It's
I get
mine,
it. It's
right.
mine. Right.
Yes. I think when it's yours, you get it.
Mm.
Like I was so pumped when I saw her. I was just like, I would ruin my life a million times over just to get this feeling of like seeing my baby for the first time.
wow.
Mm.
Now she's 2 months old. I'm a little bored.
Yeah, she's got to start doing some
Now
shit.
I'm like, you got to
Right.
turn it up. Because
Yeah.
I think even though she's my baby and I love her, I'm
She's
like,
2 months.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to do something, girl.
You should do what we do. We sometimes for the YouTube we get in costumes to get people to like
just put her
re-engage
in a
with the show.
costume.
So maybe you should put her
my
in a
mom
costume.
my mom used to say, my mom has 8 kids, and she used to say, like, as soon as you're about to like throw the baby out the window, that's when
they do
smile.
something. Yeah.
Yes, that's
You're,
when they
you're
like learn
hanging
to
on.
smile.
You're hanging on by
It's a
a
defense
literal
mechanism.
thread, and then
It's like the squid changing colors.
Yes, I really think it's like a tool of survival for them. I was so bored out of my mind, and then she smiled, and now it's like I spend all day just trying to get her to smile. But like, I'm just like I want to see her laugh. I want to see the.
Right.
I'm
You
just
want
not
more.
a newborn person.
Right. It's not as good as a phone.
That's
though.
her mid-year
It's
review.
not as great as a
I
phone.
need more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as great as a phone. I'm
You better
sorry.
start pulling your weight around. here.
Right. That's get her in here. We got a position open here at Betches. Just
Great.
bringing in some money.
Yeah, she needs to
Jordan had to
work.
hire her.
She needs to work.
Well,
new intern.
Yeah. Sitting there.
So
Started
just a
young.
little- what's that baby doing there? She works for the show.
Yeah, pre-K credit.
Well, Rosebud, we're pumped to have you. Everyone,
Yeah.
go watch Verified Stand Up. It's on Netflix. What like a great thing to like. Again, fingertips. I think we live in the best time to ever be like
That's
kind
the
of bored.
effort.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you're like, oh, I can just put this on, and Rosebud's hilarious. Go see her on the road. Let's do some game. We got a couple games and an email. You want to do a game
Hell
and
yeah.
an email with
Yeah.
us?
Let's
All
do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Our first game is couples court, where we a couple submits their fight, and we say who's right.
Awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
That's
We get to
awesome.
weigh in on someone else's troubles.
I love
Yes.
this.
Yeah, it's great.
I want to do this on the street with like live ones. You guys
Right.
should take this on the street.
Well, you should change the booth. Half selling embryos, half.
half couples counseling.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can get a little bit of each.
Please help with this dilemma. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 1 year. We're both 33. We stay at each other's places several times a week. He lives in a house and I live in an apartment, so his place is more ideal to spend time at. When he does sleep at mine, he believes we should switch off with my side of the bed. I let him have my side once or twice, but it's my side. I've lived in my place a couple of years, and it's just nice to have the comfort of my side. The thought wouldn't even cross my mind to take his side at his house. The other side at my place is partially against the wall, so there isn't room for a nightstand. So he feels it's the worst side. I mean, it is. Please solve the debate for us. He is a listener too, and we need a verdict.
I like that they both listen. I like that
Yeah.
they brought it,
Yeah.
you know, to J, J, and R.
Right.
You know?
for sure. I mean, to start off, he is correct. The side with no nightstand is
It's 100%
objectively the
worse.
worst side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, two things can be true at the same
Yes.
time. One side could be superior to the other side. It doesn't give you a right to the superior
I also
side.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he's right, but I am saying that
Right.
like she should acknowledge that it is the worst side.
Everyone knows what side everyone has. There's a good side and a bad side to every bed, but then I think
Not
when you
every
move in
bed.
together, you make both sides your own.
Right. I also think if he's offering, you got to think about what you're offering. If he's staying at your place, which is worse than his place,
Right. It is worse. She did say.
you
Yes.
gotta give him the side of the bed that's better
Wow.
because you have a worse place.
Right. So you're saying for the convenience of having him stay at your shittier place,
Yeah.
you need to give up something.
Why are they
So-
even staying at her place though?
Well, if I
Probably
were her,
he's probably just being nice to like stay at her place.
On
I mean, if he has
occasion.
a house,
Right. Why are they there?
right. Well, I guess if I was her, I wouldn't want to be every night at his place. I want to like have my own place, not like my
yeah,
own place.
I also would.
Again,
yeah.
my own place, bed side of the bed. It goes place side of the bed as the order of what would matter to me.
Same.
Right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I would want to stay at my place and give up my side of the bed rather than stay at your place and get the choice of
Of either side.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would leverage this conversation into a discussion about moving in together.
I would too. That's a
Right.
smart move.
You know,
That's
we both really want this side. Let's just move into I'll just move into your house,
Right.
where we
But
both
that's
get a
also,
nightstand.
That's also assuming that she wants to live or that they want to live together. They might be good. That they might be good. You know what I
they
mean?
might be
I think it's
been a
9
year.
months.
I actually-
33. 9 months, 33. They could just start that.
things are
Yeah.
moving along. That conversation is in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely insane to go to someone else's house and be like, "Well, I need the good side because I'm here." I don't know. I
Right.
think it's like
I kind of agree with that.
it's a little crazy to me. Like you know, when you sleep at someone's place, you kind of like get that. You know, you're
You
doing.
think it's crazy to go to like if
It's
I'm
her side of the bed.
sure it's her side of the bed, but like if I don't know, I guess if I were her, I'd be like, we're getting to stay at my place. I like staying at my place.
Right.
He has a bigger house. I stay at his place. He's, like he's kind of staying at a worse place for my convenience. So, yeah, I'll give him my side of the bed. To me, it's not that huge of a sacrifice.
Right.
Even though I
To
am
get
somebody
to-
that likes my side of the bed.
I like a nightstand. I don't care that much about the side of the. I mean, you care a little bit. Some people like know what side is their side, even when you go to a hotel. When you go to a
Yeah.
hotel, do you know what side your side is?
No.
Some people
Interesting.
do. I think.
I just
Like the-
sometimes it just speaks to me. Like I just walk in the room, I go, I know exactly where I'm going to sleep on that bed.
Yeah.
right.
And then, but it's not predetermined.
Right.
It's more of a vibe thing,
Yeah, same.
you know? And then I cuddle the side and I say, "Do you love me back?" You know,
I ask, is it all right if I sleep on you?
I've learned. You know, I'm getting better as a man.
Yeah.
No, I think that's actually that's the King Solomon answer.
Is what?
The cut the baby in half answer.
Well, that's what his answer was. Like, let's switch off.
No, I think like reinventing the room.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is the nightstand not being there makes it the worst side of the bed. So let's
Where do you put your phone?
figure out a
Where do you put your
nightstand
water?
solution. Let's make this side better.
Right.
Let's make the worst side better.
Yeah. Everyone deserves a nightstand.
Sometimes you can't make a worse side better in an apartment.
If it's against the wall
You're fucked.
or against the
Right.
window,
But what
but
what
there's
could happen
overhang.
is if he gives her one side at his place so that they have determined sides at his place. So they don't switch off at his place. So she has her own side.
So now she's got a more comfortable side at his place to
Yes.
stay more at her, even though they're doing that already.
Right. They do not switch off when they're at his place.
Right.
But when he comes over, he gets that side because he gets, you know what I mean? It's sort of like a compromise on both ends.
If I were him, I'd be like, I'll take the worst side, but I got to wake up to a blowjob every morning. I'm here.
That's insane.
Would not take
You're out of
take
your
that
mind.
trade off.
Listen, I'm negotiating here.
That's
Let me
not
be
a
his counsel.
negotiation. That's crazy.
I would say, fine, you get the side by the nightstand, but I will periodically throughout the night lean over, potentially wake you up by grabbing my water.
That wouldn't
Grabbing
even
my
right?
phone.
That would.
So if you want, you have to take the, you have to then, it's kind
take
of
the
like when,
good with the bad.
it's
Right.
like what I say to my husband when we're flying somewhere. I'm like, you can have the window seat, but I'm going to sleep on you. So
Yeah.
like, if you don't want me to sleep on you, I'm taking the window seat because
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to lean.
yeah.
So,
Right.
and then he can make that decision based on that. So if you don't want me like grabbing over you in your sleep,
I'd like to go back to my oral presentation.
That's
I
crazy.
think that's been dismissed. That's been
that
dismissed.
is absolutely
What if
insane.
whoever's on the worst
Overruled.
side of the bed gets gone down on? This is the oral side. This is the good side. Now we're cooking.
I don't think that's
No.
sustainable.
I'm
I don't think that would go well at the brunch table.
That's
well,
great.
How did you figure
Ask her.
out?
That's the,
That is a
your
great
future mother-in-law.
solution for gay men.
Right.
That is a great solution for gay men.
Fucking missing out on
Yeah.
a great world.
I would
Yeah.
not
of
be. I would
solutions.
not be open to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
compromise.
I'm helping him because they're both listening. So it makes this even more fun.
But
Yeah.
these kinds
Knowing-
of fights are good for like a good little test of how you resolve this. How much are we willing to talk about the is he a good dad thing?
Yeah.
How much are we willing to compromise on this?
Right.
Yeah.
Are we both being kind of giving, trying to work it out?
If the bad side of the bed is nightstand dependent, there is a solution that is figured out through Home Depot, a handy person,
Little shelf.
a
Yeah.
shelf. You know,
Yeah.
like that's a fixable
Yeah.
It is.
side of the bed. If it's made by the room itself, then there's some switching off opportunities.
Yeah. I agree. I think
think-
that's a reasonable thing to propose.
Let's go to the email.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Okay.
All right, I'll read it. Email. J&J, love the pod. Let's jump right in.
I love this subject line.
My boyfriend and I have been seeing each other for 9 months and official, quote unquote, for about 4. We took things slowly after both getting out of pretty difficult long-term relationships, but overall, things are going great, ... I think. He is the definition of a good traditional man. Not everyone's type, I know, but it's mine. If someone
Interesting
described
way
me that
to
way,
introduce that.
right? Not for everyone. Can you imagine if I introduced my wife and I was like, "She's great for me."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he is the first person I have dated that actually feels like a partner to me. We both contribute to the relationship, what I would say feels like an even amount. We haven't had a ton of disagreements. It feels like there isn't much to fight about with him. When there are, we discuss it without escalation, and we find solutions quickly. Our lives blend together really well, friends and family included. Here's the catch. I'm not getting the overwhelming lovey-dovey feelings that I have in the past relationships. While we have a lot of fun together, I feel like I'm missing those cloud nine or can't get enough of you feelings that I usually get at the beginning of a relationship. My last relationship was very codependent and had me feeling almost euphoric highs followed by lows that made me question my will to live. Don't
Jesus.
worry, I've been to therapy since this, LOL.
Okay.
LOL.
The LOL made me feel better.
Yeah.
As long as that LOL's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my current relationship just healthy and feels boring because I'm missing the toxic roller coaster of emotions? I really like my boyfriend and could see things working out long term between us. When I ask him about this, he says he feels really good about our relationship and enjoys the change of pace from previous chaotic relationships to a calmer one. It just almost feels like more like a logistical, calculated decision of this man would be a great husband, father, keep me safe, provide for his family. Checks the boxes kind of deal. This is the kind of guy I have always wanted to end up with, and I finally have him. Why am I feeling like something's missing? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Sincerely, Missing the Butterflies, Betch.
I feel like I can speak to this. I know,
Okay,
like,
what do you think?
direct. Okay, so I went from a very codependent, crazy relationship to a pretty calm one. But it kind of felt like we were alone together. This is the one that it lasted for 5 years, right? It kind of felt like we were alone together. It was the same thing, friends and family blended in well. Besides the marriage thing, he didn't want to get married. I did. But it felt like, I always think that when you have been in a codependent relationship, it's kind of like a drug. So you go through withdrawals.
Right.
Like the same way that you would you want that drama and you want that like pain and heartache because you feel like you earn the highs every time you go through those lows. I would consider this like almost like a craving for a relapse, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
But at the same time, the only thing that I think is a red flag here is that she doesn't feel butterflies.
Yeah, the guy that you're talking about that you blended well with, you didn't end up with.
I didn't end up with, and I did have butterflies when I met him. Like, I felt like there was chemistry. I think this is the one thing that's missing here is like, it sounds like there's no real chemistry.
Right. I think there should be butterflies at some point. It doesn't have to be every day. But
Yeah.
There should be some sense of like,
In the
I
very
feel really
beginning.
lucky. I feel really like excited to see this person. I'm like really enamored.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't last forever and doesn't necessarily have to be every day. And that shouldn't be the only thing, but that could be like a little part of it.
And then
at
not
least.
fighting too is kind of one that makes me go like, there should be arguments.
I have a question for you both. And we made fun of it in the beginning, but do you think like she's like ruining her own time by kind of like apologizing for him not being this like social media postable type of guy? Like in the beginning when she says that like not everyone's type, I know. Like,
Yeah.
like to say a definition of a good traditional man, like
I don't even know what that really means.
right. I guess like boring. Like I don't
think
know.
It means like he wants to be in a relationship. He's like reliable, probably.
Wants a family, wants to get
like
married.
is he like working like a boring job? Is he like kind of not like I don't know. I think sometimes in this like this world of like putting everything on social media, there might be this like, oh well, he's the butt of a lot of jokes, you know, like
Well, that's a difference than like he's not a star is different than like I'm not that proud of him. I guess
Right.
what she's kind of but that she's sort of implying that like I'm not everyone he's not ever like most people wouldn't be into him, but I am.
right. And I'm wondering what that means. Like when you feel the need to write that, like that.
Right.
I know I'm in the weeds of this email, but like she wrote it. These are her words.
She doesn't feel lucky to have found him, which I think is I think that's sort of a big thing.
That
Like, do
plays
you-
into butterflies.
right.
No,
Do you feel lucky
She
to
seems
be
like
with the
she's
person?
she seems like she feels lucky. Like she's like, this is the kind of guy I've always wanted to end up with, and I finally have him.
right.
But I think that when she's saying like not everyone's type,
But that feels like her dirty secret to say this is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted the stable guy who's like, you know, I don't know, like when you say not everyone's type, when you write that and then you come back to it's everything I ever wanted.
well, it's like
You know,
what she-
like what?
what she's
I
saying
don't know,
is
it's so confusing.
not my type, but
yeah.
you know, like I think that's what this is really saying. Not my type. I know, but like I'm just kind of like
I don't know.
Who are you speaking for?
Right.
Really?
Is there an element of you've ruined this for yourself? Have you ruined the butterflies? Have you
by
swatted
telling
them
that
away
story.
by telling
right,
that story?
Right, by making that the narrative.
Right.
The narrative is like, you know, not really sure if he was for me, but I'm here and I'm having a good time.
Yeah, and I'm not excited to tell the story of us because it's boring.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't get like excited by the story. I don't know, like sometimes with these up and down relationships, and I am someone who's never been in that knockout, drag out arguments that turn into euphoric love. I've never had that. I'm not an arguer. I'm not someone who like gets in those fights. So like I'm not used to that. So I don't know that feeling. I'm more towards, yeah, we're just like, okay, it's fine.
Well, that feeling, the codependent thing is like, there's some aspect of it where it's like, you kind of feel like you're in a movie all the time. The same way like when you're drunk, you feel like you're the star of a show that's not happening.
Right. It's like an addiction to drama a little bit.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. And I think that when you go from that to like a healthy, normal relationship, there is a little bit of, oh man, this isn't as like crazy as my last relationship, but that should feel like a relief. And I think without the butterflies, it's just going to feel boring.
Well, I think it's like, it depends. I think with a healthy person, I think there should be butterflies. But I think if you have a very anxious sort of view towards relationships and you're kind of like obsessive about them, then you can mistake a lack of like that feeling of being fucked with for being boring.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on like a lot of the way that she thinks about things, and like again, what did she get out of those previous relationships? Was she even attracted to those people, or was she attracted to them not being sort of like withholding from her?
Well, 100% it's like attracted to that withholding.
Right. Like if this guy stopped texting her a little bit, could she get that butterfly feeling? Or is it like the security that makes her feel less excited? Because that's
right.
kind of a thing.
Or maybe you really have broken through, and maybe you really are done with that phase of like connecting with people from that like, you know, codependent place.
Right.
And so you found this guy and he's a safe place for you from that. But that doesn't mean that he's like the guy.
Right.
Right. I don't know if it's an answer. Like, I guess when I hear this, it's not like an answer of like break up or not. I think they need to take a chance at like giving the other person a chance to surprise you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they're just like, to me, the way I read this, the way I took it in was like, we're just like boring couple now. Like we don't plan. Like I think there's like a chance to like plan a night where you do something a little different than you normally do. And you say to him, I want this from you, I want to be surprised by you. I want to like you to plan something in a way that kind of shows me a different side of you. That might, and if he doesn't do that, you have to go, oh, maybe it's that we don't try, you know, like I think that's a different thing than looking for that. You know, I think it's funny, like to go straight to like, well, because of this codependent relationship, I must be addicted to that fight. And it's like, well, we have to figure out if you're just not into, if this is just a friendship more than it is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really the question, I think, is like, is there like a strong attraction? Because that's the difference.
Right.
I'm kind of like, to me, it sounds like this is just not gonna
happen.
Yeah. To me, it's like,
hard.
this is kind of over. I don't know. Like,
well, you went from a relationship that was, hey, I want to be married and I don't know how to have that conversation, to straight up, I want to be married. And the guy was like, I'm down for that.
Yeah. I feel like good relationships are simple. I just feel like good.
But you still had the butterflies is what you're saying.
Yes. I wanted to be around him all the time. I was obsessed with him. I was like posting about him every day. And he wasn't my normal type, but I was like really excited about him.
Right.
And
I
he
remember
made me-
you did you have great jokes about that.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And I'm like, oh, what a good topic, because there's people that listen. They're like, I don't know why this person's so outside of what I'm normally used to.
Yeah.
But is that a problem? You know, like.
Like when I met Andy, I was like, oh my God, it's you. You're the guy. But I was surprised. I was like, I didn't picture you, but I'm so pumped because you're so fun to be with. It's really easy to be with you. You make me laugh all the time, like that kind of shit.
So you hear an email where someone's missing the pumped.
Yeah.
But you had been in other long-term relationships, which besides the marriage thing sounded relatively healthy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that I think is the only distinction, is if she's never been in a relationship where that's been stable, that she's felt like okay, and then maybe it could be her. Like it could be her just saying, because there's not these really high highs and low lows, that I am like bored.
Yeah.
So I think that's something only she can really answer. She's
Right.
not
True.
really like giving us the information there, because it sounds like even though, you know, you had like an issue in the past relationship, you have like you're comfortable in stable long-term relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I have a solution. She should put him on the wrong side of the bed and then blow him.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I was with you for the first half of the
Oh,
sentence.
no, switch it up. Just see if that adds some excitement.
Yeah.
A whole new perspective. No, I
Therapy.
I mean,
See what your therapist
I
says.
also, she says nothing about the sex, which makes me go like, oh, that can't be good. There's not one mention.
I some of this was like, are they? I kind of like. I had this idea once for note night, where you write on a letter like, I get a note night and you get a note night, and then you like put them across the table, and like you get to write exactly what you want to happen that night to the person. And like that could be dinner, that could be sexual, that could be like drinks. Here's how it's gonna go. So you put it like on the table, like in the morning, you're at breakfast, and you go, here's your note. Here's how the day is gonna go. Let's see how it goes. And I think like the amount of creativity someone would put into that, like may see you in a different way that they've actually like tried.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is like ho hum. We've settled into your friends like my friends, my family likes your family.
Right.
I guess life is over now.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then you're like, I guess I'm left with this person that's cool.
It feels
you know?
like an arranged marriage that they arrange.
Right.
You
That's
know?
a good point.
Right. Give him a Jared Freed pop quiz.
What's that?
It's your pop quiz.
Yeah.
Write down your.
Write
your
it down.
thing.
Note
Yeah.
night.
I
Have you
like
ever-
that.
Have you ever actually done that?
No, I'm an ideas guy.
You don't actually execute.
I was
don't
gonna
do
say,
these
I was
things.
like, I was gonna say, I was like, I love that idea, and then I was like, I'll never do
Never,
it.
ever.
Right.
do-
Wow.
yeah.
But what if you?
That's-
What if they did it?
What
Yeah.
if you did it? Why don't you try
You
it?
should try
Someone's
it.
gonna.
Let us
If
know.
I did it, I get a lot of blowjobs on the wrong side of the bed. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
Rosebud Baker,
been
thank you
great.
for coming on.
Thanks for
Fantastic.
having me.
Everyone go follow Rosebud. All her social media is tagged at Rosebud Baker. She's on Netflix. It's called Verified Stand Up. So funny, so hilarious. I love watching Rosebud on stage, SNL, all that great stuff. So go
Thank
for
you so
having me,
much
guys.
for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time for sure.
Boom.
Bye.
Bye. The You Up podcast is produced by Jorge Morales-Pico, Sean Kilby, and Candice Maniga. Editing by Jorge Morales-Pico and Shannon Sassone. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. Be sure to follow at u.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.